living up here, like, it has the rewards of the natural beauty of the area. I wouldn't personally call it isolation to myself, because so many of the people in the area are very family orientated. We have a real tight-knit community, and living up here also has some really major rewards.
Captain Jeff Martin ferries people and supplies up and down Diablo Lake. He's surrounded by stunningly beautiful landscape.
You do have to remind yourself on a daily basis the kind of beauty, and stop and really smell the roses, if you will. You have to have that kind of attitude up here.
Jeff is but one of many workers who say they love living here, high on the Skagit, in one of the few remaining company towns within the U.S. Orrin Wilson is the generation supervisor at Ross Dam.
It's a good job in the sense that you get to feel like you accomplish stuff at the end of each day. And it's something it's demanding, and it pushes me to my limits. So that's the upside of it. So it keeps me on my toes.
Seattle City Light employees first began living here year-round back in 1918.
I worked for Seattle City Light from 49, I think, to 56 or 57, somewhere in there.
Ken Cuthbert's an old-timer and remembers how this place used to be. Workers had to adjust to the isolation, especially the ones working on Diablo.
Well, in the wintertime, it was pretty isolated up there. There's some days you didn't get out of there. You didn't get out of there all winter, you had to stay there. And if you wanted to get out of there, you had to walk from Diablo to Newhalem, and a lot of times it was pretty treacherous down through there.
Winter weather was sometimes so bad, workers had a hard time getting to or from their jobs.
Well, the wind had blown so hard up there, they couldn't get the boat back and forth up there. And you couldn't get across from over to the back and forth from the boat landing over to the train, Diablo powerhouse. You couldn't get back and forth there through there. The snow would be blowing through there 100 or about 75 miles an hour, I think they said it was there. Snow would be, you couldn't see your hand in front of your face.
Jack Falstrom came to the Skagit Project when he was just a year old and remembers the harsh winters well.
In Diablo, the snow came down just without wind, and it piled up in one year 6 feet deep, and we couldn't go to school. The train couldn't run.
Carl and Margaret Bowman began working for Seattle City Light in 1951. They remember the incredible beauty of living on the Skagit.
Well, it was kind of exciting because it seemed like way in the wilderness, and we always liked to hike and everything. I was right in the hiking country, and we just love it primitive like that.
Though workers did live in the wilderness, it didn't stop them from having rich social lives.
Oh, well, we had a little, this couple, she played the accordion and he played the drums, and in the basements, and we'd have dances sometimes in these basements, and I don't know, just played cards and sort of thing. I don't know.
She's a real jitterbug.
Oh, well.
Really? Yeah. It was a lot of fun dancing.
In the wintertime, they'd play cards. They'd play bridge and all kinds of cards, dances, Saturday night. In fact, Saturday night dance in Newhalem, they'd get the electric car, and Art Swinson would get the electric car, and a lot of people would get on and go down, and didn't have enough babysitters. So I sat 2 houses at the same time, and I'd a half hour at Christian's house, a half hour at Potter's house.
Workers even set up mock boxing matches for both the men and the boys.
Some of the older men got in a ring at the big hall, which now became Courier Hall, and then they got us kids in there, and I was either Max Schmeling or Joe Lewis, I don't know what, but we battled in there, big pillow gloves, and they threw money.
While dances and boxing events don't happen much anymore, most of today's workers take advantage of the abundant recreational opportunities literally in their backyards.
Of course, we have our indoor swimming pool up here, and we have our tennis courts. There's a tremendous amount of hiking, these type of functions. We have baseball tournaments up here in the Skagit Valley. Myself as an EMT working up here and helping people on the roads.
Just like today, Newhalem was the center of action for former Seattle City Light workers. But the town was bigger back then. More workers were needed to run the dams before automation, and that meant more children and the need for schools. Newhalem boasted the largest. Diablo, only a tiny schoolhouse.
I did the 8th grade there. There was only one room in the schoolhouse and all 8 grades in one room.
As the kids got older, they'd hop the company train and then school buses to attend high school. These days, though, the schools are gone and all the students commute. Accommodations were also far different in years past.
First house we moved into was what they called, right on the, it's on the bar, it's construction shacks. So that's, everybody gets initiated to this construction shack first, and then as there were other houses available, we moved in, you know, moved up sort of.
For Seattle City Light workers who didn't have families, the accommodations were a bit more spare. Many lived in these bunkhouses. Managers, though, had nicer lodgings. While many of the workers on the Skagit project did in fact live in bunkhouses, the bosses lived here, an area they called Silk Stocking Row. You can still walk through Silk Stocking Row today, and the houses are as polished as ever. Even some bunkhouses remain. They're still used by Seattle City Light workers commuting from Seattle to perform major repairs. If you're curious, there are several sites you can walk to around Newhalem, proving this was once a booming company town and major tourist destination. Well, the town isn't booming anymore. Worker satisfaction up here remains high.
It's a fantastic place to live.
I'm Kelly Gunther for Seattle City Light.